Good evening and welcome to the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast, the official podcast of the Final Fantasy Wiki, the unofficial wiki about the series called Final Fantasy, which, even though we're unofficial, we are still the very best encyclopedia of knowledge of Final Fantasy things and Final Fantasy doings and Final Fantasy opinions and all that other stuff. My name is BlueHighwind and I am your host here tonight at the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast. Because I play Final Fantasy. I'm a Final Fantasy fan, if you will. Also, this wiki is hosted by fandom, who are not Final Fantasy fans. They appropriate the culture of fandom for their capitalist needs. Anyway,
some of them are.
Yes.
A small number of their staff are Final Fantasy fans, but...
Yeah, but, you know...
Not enough of them.
Fandom as a... You know, it is a output of capitalism, but it also can be an input of capitalism. Anyway, joining me is Technobliterator.
Yes, hello. Unfortunately, I am in a different country than usual, and I have a different mic than usual, so my quality is worse, so I apologize. But I have a lot to say today, so I apologize even more.
You can just say you have a cold. They'd buy it.
That would
make us sound more professional. And of course, the one, the only, SomeColorMage!
Hey, and unlike Techno, I actually did have a cold that I'm just recovering from. So.
But you sound the same somehow.
Yeah, I think I got the worst of it, as except for a sometimes blockage in my throat, but it's okay.
Yeah, so it is December 2022, which means the year that we call 2022 in the Anno Domini calendar is ending. So how was your 2022, guys?
Excellent. I got my first full job as a software engineer in the United States of America, which was extremely exciting, and it's going well so far. Other than that, I mean, as far as like games of 2022, it was good, but I've had much less time to play them as a result of said job. But there's my year in review. It was good.
Okay, how was your SomeColorMage?
It's been okay. Moved house, got a better paying job. Kind of boring, thankfully.
I guess boring is better than not boring these days. In the times we live in.
I mean, it's fucking better than last year.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, my 2022 was basically the same as my 2021. So I guess also boring.
Oh, was that bad?
No, my 2021 was fine. Ultimately, because I never got
one of us
COVID.
was.
I lived my life as far as I wanted in 2021. I mean, I never got COVID. I never stopped going to the office. I never stopped going outside. My life has mostly been the same, no matter how much chaos has happened. I did go to Hawaii. I did climb the tallest mountain in the eastern part of this continent. And let me think. Is there anything else that was cool about this year for me? Not really. I think that's it.
Oh, I got a girlfriend.
Oh, well, congratulations.
But that was at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah. No. Mazel tov.
Hey.
Hey! Okay, so that's enough of all that crap. Let's talk about real shit.
Kendrick Lamar's album came out and was extremely good. There was a lot of good music this year.
No. We got to talk about real shit now. All right, the important shit.
Yeah, because the Kendrick Lamar concert wasn't that important, clearly.
Oh yeah. Oh, I saw Elton John in concert this year. Speaking of concerts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of cool shit I did this year, but that's not real shit. Real shit is my fantasy team. It's over. I was defeated. But anyway, no, real shit is Final Fantasy. So, want to do the news for the month of December?
Yeah, there's a decent amount this month.
Yeah, let's start there. Let's start with going back to No, that's not really the news I wanted to go through. Final Fantasy XVI has an official rating. It's been rated mature. It's at the start of this month. We have a lot of Final Fantasy XVI to get through, but this is the first thing. I was rated mature for, let me see, sex scenes, intentional deaths, torture scenes depicting suffering victims, drug use, propaganda, sexual content that is shown and discussed, and hate crimes.
Oh, is that the Brazilian one?
Yes, it is Brazil. I should have specified. Yeah, this Kotaku reporting of Brazilian rating.
Because like later in the month, the ESRB rating came out, and it sounded, not extremely more tame, but still noticeably more tame than what was in there.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah. I think I have it here.
I am going to hold my tongue on my reaction to this piece of news because my reaction to the next piece of 16 news is completely different. So carry on.
I have some quotes here. The little blurb is rated M for mature. Blood and gore, partial nudity, sexual themes, strong language, violence. There's some notes here, such as the words fuck and shit are heard in the game. Sexual moaning sounds in a brothel. Fireballs. Melee-style combat. A guard's throat is slit by a knife. Also, there's slavery in this game, apparently. Yeah, so that's all fun.
Lovely.
Yeah, all fun
Lovely stuff.
Yuji Naka is my next news report. Remember Yuji Naka?
Oh shit, I nearly forgot about this one.
Yeah, Yuji Naka was rearrested at the beginning of this month, and I believe was arrested a third time now.
I haven't heard of the third arrest, but I mean, getting arrested twice over this is impressive, really.
And hilarious.
He was formally indicted, I believe, today.
Oh, really?
Yes. Formally indicted following their arrest for alleged insider trading offenses. This is due to the failed Final Fantasy VII spin-off, The First Soldier, and his insider knowledge buying stock in the company that was making it. Yuji Naka.
Yes, this most recent count was doing the exact same thing that he did with that Dragon Quest game, but with Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier.
Yeah, I think, Final Fantasy XVI, back to that, is, we did not know the official release date, but now we do. It's June 22nd, 2023.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there are many, many different versions, including the Standard Edition, the Deluxe Edition, which comes with a steelbook and a cloth map of Vasilthea, the Digital Deluxe Edition, the Collector's Edition, which, how much is that? Do you know how much that Collector's Edition is, by the way?
Hold on, I'll bring up the US Square Enix store.
This one comes with a collector's box, the full game, a premium statue of Phoenix vs. Ifrit, a metal icon pin collection, a steelbook, the cloth map of Vasilthea, and the Blood Sword DLC, referencing Final Fantasy II. Were you able to find it, SomeColorMage?
Just give me a minute. I have to change country on this thing 50 fucking times in order to get the correct store to show up.
Darn it, I gave it my wrong date of birth. I'm trying to find...
Okay, here we go. ENUS. Games. Franchises.
Darn it, now it won't let me see it. I accidentally put my date of birth as this year, because, 2022. And now I can't see it. It will not let me see it.
Uh-oh.
Okay, February.
Everyone's got to sit here and listen while we figure this out. The people need to know how expensive this damn thing is.
$350.
Okay. So,
That's not as Not as much as I thought it would be, but it's still a stupid amount of money.
How much was that Final Fantasy VI Figma with the Magitech armor that was like 5 feet tall?
That was about 1,000.
That one was way too expensive.
That was at least $1,000.
More than that.
Is that
Way more than that.
2-3 grand?
No.
10 grand?
Yes.
It was 10 grand.
$11,549.68.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Depending on the exchange rate, which changes constantly. So it was at the time that article was reporting. I think I'm going to get the base Final Fantasy XVI. I don't know about you guys.
I'm going to get the base Final Fantasy 16.
I got the slightly nicer version. You can't actually get the collector's edition in Australia.
No.
Not that I wanted it, because I got no room for that giant thing. But yeah, after many tribulations figuring out fucking online storefronts, because you can't order physically from Square Enix directly in Oceania. They just do not deliver here. So instead, I had to look at a bunch of different game stores trying to figure out exactly which one had the deluxe edition, because for some reason my normal shop didn't. Like they offered the regular edition with a steelbook. It's not the steelbook that Square Enix was advertising. I don't know what the fuck is going on there.
Well, if you want the super insane deluxe edition, I'll buy it for you and ship it to Australia if you pay the bill.
But no, I did eventually find the middle option. Fucking edition names are too stupid. Anyway,
you don't want the Ifrit.
I do have it.
You don't want the Ifrit versus Phoenix?
I do not want that.
This reminds me, my Miss Cloud Figma should probably be coming in a few months. I did buy that, I remember.
I should really get one of those Figmas at some point, but I've never gotten around to it.
Anyway, Final Fantasy XVI. Now, there was one other thing of news. Do you remember the Game Awards from a few weeks ago?
The Jeff Keighley anti-vaping show.
Yes,
the one that was interrupted by the fucking weirdo at the end.
Yes, the one where the guy from Stargate did the acceptance speech and went on for 20 minutes, while poor rickety, just ancient-looking, what's his name, Dunkachino was there, looking like he could barely stand.
Well, I for one was not expecting Bill Clinton to be awarded Game of the Year. I don't even know how he managed to pull that one off.
Yeah, they're making lots of new games, including Earthblade, the new game from the creators from Celeste. So I'm very excited for that. But they're also making Final Fantasy XVI, and there was a new trailer for that game. And Technobliterator, you were extremely excited for this.
This trailer was fucking incredible. To the point where I am going to eat every single word I have ever said about this game on the previous podcast. I am now extremely, phenomenally excited for this game. Like, this trailer won me over, and then some. A phenomenal trailer. I was extremely happy about it. And you know what? There's still like a couple tiny little gripes. I don't really like that our next main character is going to be another anime dude. But you know what? It's whatever. It's, it is what it is. Because what we're still getting looks to me to be a phenomenal game. It looks to be like a kind of Final Fantasy cross with Game of Thrones kind of situation. Which is, if anything, like 12 was going for that in a way. The action on scene, like the gameplay of it, I should say, the combat system looks exciting. The story looks really good, and the world went from looking boring to me to looking extremely fucking interesting. Like, and I don't I don't know if I can really articulate like what it was about the trailer that caused me to have a totally different reaction from the previous ones. It's just that the trailer gripped me from the very start, and from the very start I was like, oh wow, this is actually really good. And I had that feeling throughout the entire trailer, and then I went back and reflected on it, and I'm like, you know what? It still wouldn't be, if I was directing a Final Fantasy from scratch, as for what my perfect one would be, I probably wouldn't go in this direction. But you know what? I don't care. I'm here for it. And I'm now, like, I'm on the hype train for 16. And I could not say that before.
Was it perhaps because Clive pets a dog in this trailer? Was that what made the difference?
That did help a lot. That was pretty sweet.
That's an interesting response to me because while I was definitely already on board with this, that trailer didn't really strike me as particularly different.
Yeah, there's been this really interesting reaction where, and I definitely noticed it on Twitter from what I was seeing from other people, where like it seems to me the ones who had the strongest reaction to this were people in my camp who have now been won over, right? The people who were like, we weren't against it, but we were skeptical of it. A lot of us have been won over, and we had a very strong, like, positive reaction to it. And the reaction from the people who were already been on board was mostly a sense of, oh, I'm glad they're now on our side. Like, I'm glad they now, like, see it our way. They've said it's like a kind of heartwarming reaction. But a lot of them, were underwhelmed, but were like, oh yeah, I already knew this about the game, kind of thing, like, if that makes sense. Whereas a lot of us, like, I know for a fact I'm not alone in this opinion, because I've seen a lot of people share the same opinion of me of, now I'm excited for it, if that makes sense.
Well, maybe part of it is just awareness of past works, because like, I have played Final Fantasy XIV. I am already on board with a game written by the Heavensward writers. I have played Devil May Cry 5. I am on board with a game that's designed by a bunch of ex-Capcom action game directors.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, I think that's definitely fair. And the reason why that alone wasn't as persuasive to people in my camp before was unfamiliarity with it, and the fact that we know it's good because we've been told it's good, but we don't know what that looks like. So I played Final Fantasy XIV, the original. If I had time, and hopefully one day I will have time, we'll play it again. I didn't play past. I didn't really play past the Realm Reborn, so I'm not at all familiar with what the rest of the game is like. So, all I know is everyone has told me this is really good. This is the best Final Fantasy story since, a lot of people have been saying since 7, but I think it means like since whichever one was your favorite, basically. I know it. Everyone's told me that this is extremely, extremely good, but I don't know anything about what that looks like. So I'm going in with the mindset of, well, I know that it's going to be good because, like, the track record of the people behind it is a good track record, but I don't know if I'm going to like it. And now I know that I'm going to like it. Now, like, this trailer has convinced me I am going to enjoy this game. Is it going to be my favorite Final Fantasy of all time? Probably not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it makes the top 5. I would not be surprised if it makes my top 5. Like, that's how much of a 180 I've done on this game.
And I was bought in on this game from the beginning, as you all know. And this trailer, I think this trailer looks especially awesome. I think it is everything I've liked in the other trailers, but a little more so. You saw Clive air juggling a monster at the beginning. Shiva's dropping like icicle bombs upon an entire army. He pets a dog. Clive does, I mean.
It's definitely a bit more graphic, a bit more polished than the previous trailers, but there still wasn't that much need to it. mainly like
I
in
think
the
that's
first
a lot to
trailer,
do with
couple
it.
of the blood effects were a bit wonky.
No, I do think that is a lot to do with it because it is, from what I've been told, it isn't in line with how that studio reveals things. Because if you look at the first trailer that they ever did, it was basically like a Final Fantasy XIV level graphics. It wasn't that. It clearly was very early stages of development and wasn't resembling what the final product's gonna look like.
Yeah, we
And
were
I
saying...
Well,
remember
it's better than 14 graphics, but it was like in engine, it was roughly on par with the parts of 14 that are animated by Visual Works, which was
Right.
impressive in and of itself.
I remember at the time
Right.
we were saying this game doesn't look that amazing, but we were almost like thinking, we were almost convincing ourselves it was a positive because we are fans. And this looks like, oh wow, finally a PlayStation 5 game that'll use PlayStation 5 horsepower.
Yeah, since Ratchet and Clank, that's right.
Or since
Yeah,
Horizon Forbidden West, I guess.
And that one too. Yeah, because I remember my reaction to the first trailer. Like, in hindsight, I was really underwhelmed by it. Like, I just couldn't really articulate that at the time. Whereas this one, because it's so far along and so far advanced in development, and because it looks like, to me, the game just looks extremely exciting. Like, that's the only way I can put it. Like, it just looks exciting. It's Final Fantasy Tactics, everything I like about that setting-wise, and what I'm seeing from the action of it, whether it be, gameplay mostly, but also in the cutscenes as well, it just looks exciting. Like, I mean, I can't say enough, like, how much this trailer changed my mind on the game completely. And I know I'm not the only one. I also know there are some who, were kind of set against the game, and it's probably not going to be the one for them. And to those people, I say, that's okay, because we are very blessed as Final Fantasy fans to be having 2 mainline games this year. We've got 7 Rebirth coming out at the end of the year. And I'm still more excited for 7 Rebirth. Because that's more to my personal tastes. But that's okay. That's what makes this series such a good series, is there's a Final Fantasy for every single person.
Is 7 Rebirth actually confirmed to be coming out 2023?
Well, it's winter, so it's like the December to February window.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it might be, it might be that they delay it till February. I wouldn't be shocked. But even then, 2 big games coming out in a very close proximity to each other. If you don't like one, the other's right around the corner. If you don't like the other, great, you got this one.
Wait, we're forgetting a Final Fantasy. Forspoken. Forspoken's coming out next month.
Oh yeah, that's coming out next month. Yeah,
that's
right.
Yeah, I did play that demo. I should probably share my opinions. But do we have anything more to say about 16 before I steal the spotlight?
I don't think so. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I think that game's looked really cool. I love action RPGs. I love dark fantasy. I love boys with emotions. So that game seems to be hitting many, many different things. So Forspoken, there was a demo released the day of the Game Awards, and I did play that demo. And how should I articulate my thoughts here? I guess...
Oh, well, based on that reaction, it has already been, that it was kind of mid.
That would be easier. It'd be easier, I'd just be like, oh, it's a fucking piece of shit. What a pile of fuck. Cowabunga, fucking piece of dog shit. That kind of thing. That'd be easy.
If your first reaction was like, oh, actually, I played the demo, I really liked it. Or your first reaction was, oh, I played the demo, it sucked that. Then that would tell us a lot. But the fact that you're saying, oh, I don't know how to say this, suggests to me it's somewhere in the mid-range.
It is somewhere in the mid-range. Okay. So this demo is kind of just like an hour slice of you doing side quests in the open world kind of thing. So, there's crafting and there's fortresses with enemies in them that you can clear. And all that kind of structure does nothing for me anymore. Just as a person. But The gameplay is actually pretty damn good.
Oh, okay.
Running around as the girl from the new Charlie's Angels movies and going and throwing magic around and beating a crap out of enemies who are really not difficult at all. It plays so much better than Final Fantasy XV did. And it still kind of has the same loose sense of automated, like, am I really dodging or not? I can see some numbers coming off of me, even though I'm pretty sure I dodged. It kind of has that deal. But you have a ton of attacks. You have a ton of different kinds of attacks. You can go and knock the enemy and seal them to the ground for a little while. You can summon a turret. You have different ways of throwing rocks at them. You have fire abilities, which I didn't even realize until after the demo when I was watching other people play, that there was a way you could switch from your elements. So I'm like, why is it all rock stuff? Why am I an Earthmancer? And apparently, no, there's fire, there's water, there's everything there. And beating the crap out of zombies and birds and all sorts of stuff, there's a good game here. But the structure of a 100-hour RPG, I don't know. There's no story in this demo whatsoever, which has kind of been my big question mark. Because it is an isekai. You are the girl from the Charlie's Angels movies, and you get sucked into this world. But it's like, what story are you telling? That's really
isn't like our most recent real indicator of the quality of the writing that one Twitter ad that everyone pilloried?
Ella Balinska is this actress' name. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
I'm just thinking, like, I mean, so what kind of indicators do we have of what the writing is like? It says that one horrible Twitter ad.
No, it's not like that. It is like you have a little guy that's like your ring or your wrist like band that's talking to you, and this dude never shuts the fuck up. Like, it is almost as bad as that High on Life game where Justin Roiland just does his friggin' Rick and Morty voice and makes bad jokes. Like, it is nonstop. It's like Tales of Arise level. However, one of the first things I did...
It has been decades since Ocarina of Time came out, and we still have not fucking learned from Navi.
If anything, it's much worse than Navi, but there is a setting in the game that you can find where you can go and shut him up. It was one of the first things I did.
Nice. I will say, based on your reaction, it leads me towards I'll probably buy it on sale, like, which is a more positive than negative reaction. Because negative would be I wouldn't even buy it, but I'll say based on that, like, first of all, the whole like, oh, we're doing a demo where you can play the game, but the demo involves you doing side quests for an hour. Well, we've been down that road before. It was Final Fantasy XV.
It was
and
Final Fantasy XV.
The demo looked very good. And then the game itself did not play anything like the demo and was very, like, I remember walking away from the demo being like, this is, like, I really like what I see here if they can add more depth to it. And they did not add any more depth to that whatsoever. In fact, it was just that, but less exciting. So that sucked. But on the flip side, what you're saying about, like, oh, the gameplay itself is good. Well, you had me at you can place a turret down. That always makes games better for me. Like, I've loved that since Ratchet and Clank. But like the whole like, oh, well, the gameplay itself, it's good. It's just what you'll be doing gets somewhat repetitive, and this is going to be a theme of this podcast, right? But there's a game a lot like that, which have the sequel to that game is the game I am second most looking forward to next year, behind FFVII Rebirth, and that game is Spider-Man on PS4. That's another game where the gameplay itself, you will think, oh, this is just the same few crimes over and over and over, but no, it does not feel like that at all, because the actual core mechanics of the game itself you are playing are so good that it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter, because you want an excuse to go swinging around New York for a little more and trying out the gadgets a little more. Like, you can say, oh, these enemies themselves are a little cut and paste. No one playing that game cares. Like, no one cares because they're just happy to be playing as Spider-Man. And if you don't want to do all the optional shit, that's fine because you can get through the game without doing that. So if Forspoken is somewhat like that, I'll probably like it. It won't be my favorite game of the year, but it will be a fun time.
You know, actually, you bringing up Spider-Man did crystallize one thing for me. One of the reasons I think I enjoyed playing this demo is that the way that Ella Balinski moves is actually pretty damn cool. She runs around as fast as Sonic the Hedgehog. She's got, like, magical legs. So she can go and run really fast and climb up cliffs like they're nothing. There's something really awesome about that movement tech, which does do quite a lot for getting through a very large open-world game. Because I think other people have said this, but an open world is only as good as moving around it. And moving around it is just boring crap like Final Fantasy XV. The open world's not going to be any good.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is like that would be like a total 180 from 15, where the movement part was the worst part by far. Like the worst part was, oh, okay, I can tell Ignis to drive me someplace, and then what am I doing while I'm driving there?
Listen to Final Fantasy XIV.
To the radio.
Yeah, Final Fantasy XIV
tunes. You're listening to... Fine, you're listening to an old Final Fantasy tune on the radio. Great. I can do that anyway. Yeah. I can do that while I'm working out. I can do that in any other context than just waiting for something to happen.
You know what I love?
That is good to hear.
You know what I love is that Final Fantasy XV has become our shorthand for everything wrong with an open world game. This is how you don't do it. This is how Final Fantasy XV did it, so don't do that.
I think
well, the reality is it kind of is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think in the broader gaming landscape, that
is not
be...
taking that approach either. It's more like large zones. So, like, it's well designed. Sounds like it's going to be closer to what 14's is than 15.
Yeah.
That in the broader gaming landscape, that's probably not the example you'd bring up as the punching bag, but definitely among Final Fantasy fans, it is the punching bag, a game that does open world but doesn't do it right. But I will say that I've seen from Square Enix then has been very encouraging because it suggests to me they've learned from what didn't work and they also learned from what did work. So I would say, you know, Forspoken sounds good. I'll probably get it on sale.
All right.
Funnily enough, I think the much maligned 13 might have ended up being a step in the correct direction for the level design. Because look at 7 Remake. It's basically 13, but with improved backtracking and directional branching and such.
Yeah, it's not one endless hallway.
Remake.
Yeah.
7 Remake is an interesting one because it just as much follows from the path of, you know, Final Fantasy X, 13, then 7 Remake. It just as much follows that as it does the 12, then 15 is like a sidestep. It doesn't really follow 12, but it takes
it seems like
12...
the correct evolution there is more like 12, 14, 16.
Yes, that sounds right. But yeah, 7 Remake is just a great... It's great because it takes inspiration from all of those aspects, which, we're not talking about 7 Remake today, but...
we have plenty more to talk about that's not 7 Remake.
Yeah, plenty more to talk about. That is 7, but it's not 7 Remake.
Well, I will say one thing about Forspoken is that I think I might actually buy this game. And I don't know if that's because I do this podcast, and we're going to need something to talk about in February and maybe January too. So that's a very large social pressure leading me to buy that video game that I may not have done otherwise. But also I am curious what the hell this thing is. Because it does seem like it's either going to be a complete fucking disaster, or it's going to be one of those games that, like, in 2 years, I could go and make a pitch to, like, Kotaku or something and be like, you know, Forspoken, not that bad. Actually, underrated masterpiece. Whatever.
I feel like it's not like the worst it's gonna be is forgettable.
It could be that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it's definitely something I'd be waiting for others' opinions on, and hey, if you're offering.
Yeah, because I mean, sorry to drag on this topic even more, but like going back to 15, the reason I say that's probably not the one people bring up as the punching bag is because the rest of the gaming community has forgotten about it. The only reason we're talking about it is because it's a Final Fantasy game, whereas most people, you know, it's just kind of it happened, they moved on from it, and I imagine Forspoken will, at the very worst, receive the same fate, where people play it, they're like, oh, okay, and then they move on from it and they forget.
Unless it's really bad, then I'll reference it every single month for the rest of our lives.
That will be a
hold
different
grudges.
Conversation, but we'll see.
I hold grudges, Miles Sanders. I know you're listening. I know you don't care about my fantasy team, but what the fuck, dude? Anyway, Pixel Remaster.
Yes, it's finally coming to consoles, which I would like to point out. I said it was going to come to consoles. I was right. It's going to be insufferable for a second. Just say that.
You know what? You have so little. Enjoy what you have.
So Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster is coming to console, which I should be extremely excited about it, but instead I'm not, because it means I have more work to do on the wiki, and I was hoping to focus only on Final Fantasy VII, but that's okay, because other than that, I'm excited.
It is coming to PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch spring, and there is a collector's... There's yet another collector's edition. What do you know? I didn't even read this until just now. It comes with a 2-disc vinyl record, art book, character art. There's a 1 through 6 collectors, like one giant bundle of all these things. So it's kind of what I want. It's not the archival historical document, let's go and interview people and show the artwork, that kind of loving remaster. Like, there was recently an Atari game collection, like an Atari 2600 game collection, which was really cool and had a lot of stuff. They created an Air World, which is a game that didn't really exist, but completed a franchise that was made for that system. That's the kind of thing I want for retro Final Fantasy. So this is not that, but it is Final Fantasy VI on the Switch. So I guess you can be happy there.
Yep. And because it's coming to PS4, it's effectively coming to PS5 as well. Like... It's effectively the same thing. PS5 plays PS4 games about as well as a PS4 Pro could. So, you know, it is what it is. It'll be fun.
I should find out what the exact name is in that for that Atari collection. What was it called? God, I can't find it. What was it? I just know that Air World was on it. Oh, Atari's 50th Anniversary Collection, I think is what it's called. Has 80 games in it, including Air World, which I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but there was a thing called Sword Quest on the Atari 2600. Angry Video Game Nerd did an episode about it. It was supposed to be a 4-game series. So I think Earth World, Water World, not the Kevin Costner movie, and Fire World, and then they were going to make Air World, but they never did because the old original Atari company went under and went out of business. It was bought by the ColecoVision people, I believe. And the ColecoVision CEO stole some of the treasures that were supposed to be given out to the people that had actually done these games. There was supposed to be a big contest about it. So now, 40 years after the fact, somebody finally made an Air World so the entire Sword Quest series can be played and enjoyed and all the mysteries can be done. And that, I think, is a beautiful gaming story. Other than the fact that one CEO stole the sword that people were supposed to get.
So is the equivalent of that would be like if 7 Remake gives us the chance to revive Aerith.
No, it'd be like if 7 Remake never gets finished after Part 2. And then we gotta wait like 50 years. And then we make 7 Remake Part 3 to complete the story.
Oh, so it's like if someone goes and finishes Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, kind of like that, I guess. If somebody goes and finishes all the other games in what's a good example? No, I got nothing. There's so many failed video game franchises that like suddenly nothing's coming to mind. I don't know why. What was that shitty game where you played as Baldur? It killed the studio it was behind. Not Baldur's Gate, but the hell was it called? God. All right, my brain's completely blank.
Okay.
I have nothing but Final Fantasy on the mind. We gotta move on.
Yeah, I'm anxious to get to the main topic, so let's go through the next items of news real quick.
All right, sure. There's Stranger Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is getting another DLC next month. It's called Different Future.
And
this is the last one.
I believe it is the last one that they're planning, and it looks like Final Fantasy II stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Was like when they said, "Oh, the Emperor's in it," I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's an interesting direction for this to go in." That's like totally unexpected. But no, it sounds like, it sounds like the Shadow of the Hedgehog is gonna be Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2 stuff. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
Too Human, that was the game.
I'm pretty sure that the direction. Oh yeah.
Too Human, that fucking failed franchise. I finally remembered.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure the direction they're heading is tying this in with Dissidia, because there's also the Nomura style Moogle talking about restoring his own timeline. And Nomura style Moogle
that would
pretty much only gets used in Dissidia and Kingdom Hearts.
Wait, is a
I doubt
Moogle
it's being tied into the latter.
Is this Mobius Final Fantasy? Does the Moogle die in a fiery holocaust?
Which Moogle?
Any of them, because that's something that happens in Mobius Final Fantasy.
I don't think any other Moogle has died like that.
Okay.
Besides, if this is tying into Dissidia, then that Moogle's going to be Sid. So
I don't care about Dissidia.
Well, logically speaking, like it would make a lot of sense to tie it in with Dissidia, which is kind of what, like, when Drake, because I didn't play or watch anything about the game at all, but Drake got me up to speed on what the story was. I was like, oh, so they're doing a Dissidia thing, like, with the whole like cycles and the whole like, oh, this would lead into like, it basically sounds like a really, like, the story sounds like a really well thought out Dissidia prequel. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, like, I haven't touched the DLC, but the second one was about Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh, of course, remembers all the stuff from previous games, where he did seem to bring up things that were fairly Dissidia linked. And also, Stranger Paradise, it was added relatively quickly to Opera Omnia.
What's Opera
the
Omnia?
Dissidia mobile game.
Oh, I thought that might be like a fan wiki where you write your fake Dissidia stories. Sorry. Did I kill conversation again?
The Gilgamesh thing that's interesting, because if that's come out, then it sounds like our pages need updating, and I haven't updated them, but that's okay.
And the thing is, barely any of us touched the game in the first place, and I'm not sure if any of us have touched the DLC at all.
There's got to be somebody. Somebody out there is a big Stranger Paradise fan, and you want to go and write these pages for us, because I'm not doing it.
Yes.
You, the listener. I'm calling on you.
There have been some people who have contributed some stuff for that game, and good for them. I'm not touching it, because it seems like, other than it not being what I'm interested in, it's like, actually, that is the reason. It's just I'm not interested in it. But, I'll help out anyone who wants to.
Okay. Oh, wait, you know what? We do have many more items, I'm sorry to admit, in the news category. I know you want to move on, but do you have a hard out coming up, like in an hour or something?
No, I don't. I don't have any hard out at all.
All right. This may just have to be a long episode, because Do you remember Chocobo GP?
I remember Chocobo GP, and I also remember the news item related to Chocobo GP.
Yeah, Chocobo GP Season 5, which is what it's currently at, it will be the last season, and soon enough they'll be shutting off your ability to buy Mithril, the premium currency. And that will become invalid on January 6th of 2023, apparently, according to this item on the support of Square Enix page. And I believe they're going to be done doing anything as of Wednesday, December 21st, which just passed about a week ago. That is the end. There's no more large updates.
So Zero Alec, who is one of our moderators, brought up a very interesting point about this, which he said that a lot of people are reading the news wrong about this, where, like, if you look at the news, they'd be saying, like, oh, the game's shut down. It was, you know, it's ended its life, and it's another, like, the first soldier story, when that's not really what's happening. What's happening is
I don't know where people are getting that rating from.
Right, whereas what's happening is the game's still going to be completely online, completely playable. They're just not adding new content to it, and I don't know how long that was planned to be added for anyway. What they are getting rid of, which is a wonderful thing, they're getting rid of the microtransactions, which no one liked and was always stupid as fuck. And let me say real quick that this isn't the first kart racing game that this has happened to, because Crash Team Racing did the same shit. Like when it came out,
the fucking Activision version.
Yes, that's right. Crash Team Racing.
What year did that come out?
That was like 2-3 years ago. I want to say it was quite recent, but basically,
that was like a remake of the original, but you know, that looked like, you know, a really good remake of this, and then a day after the reviews came out, they patched in a ton of shitty microtransactions.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Like, because the original Crash Team Racing was like one of the best kart races ever made. Like, you know, like it wasn't until like Mario Kart 8 or some shit that actually surpassed it, because that was considered like the holy grail of kart racing games, like classic game. Naughty Dog outdid Mario on this one. And it was like, you know...
And
so
unfortunately, it was too good because Naughty Dog wanted to kill the series with it.
Right. They actually tried to use that to kill the series, because they said, oh, we're going to make the bad guy in this be an alien, and everyone's going to say that's so ridiculous that they're done with Crash. And what actually happened, because this was when Naughty Dog was exiting that and they were moving on to Jak and Daxter. But what actually happened was everyone said, oh man, that alien is so cool. Can't wait to learn more about him. So it was an accident, but it was an excellent game, and the remake everyone was really excited for, including me. I bought it, and it was a good remake with a horrible microtransaction system, which is exactly what happened with Chocobo GP. It was a remake of a previous Chocobo racing game.
Chocobo Racing, probably.
It was called Chocobo Racing, that's right. And yes. It was, I think that more like, you know, that was more flash in the pan compared to Crash Team Racing. Chocobo GP, the actual racing itself, got very good reception. What didn't get good reception at all, for good reason, was the fucking monetization, which was the stupidest thing like they could have possibly done. So basically what they've said is, okay, that was a dumb idea, we're getting rid of it, and we're not adding more DLC to the game, so it's just going to exist as it is. You can play this kart racer online, and it's basically, they've made the game playable now, but they've not added anything to it, which is, it's a Battlefront 2 story, because, you know, Star Wars Battlefront 2, when that came out...
Despise
What's
it.
that?
I hate Battlefront 2. That game was one of my biggest disappointments. I mean, the single-player campaign, it was fucking horrible.
Oh, yeah. The single-player campaign sucked.
Yeah.
But what people... Basically, everyone said, like, oh, the multiplayer, when it came out, was dog shit. And then by the end of it, was great. And at that point, they'd already given up on it. So it sounds like Chocobo GP is going to be another Battlefront 2 story where, you know, it's going to be... We'll probably like it now, but we won't like... You know, basically... They killed the reputation of it. by putting in a stupid ass monetization scheme, which they probably didn't earn a lot. Well, based on the fact they're shutting it down, they didn't earn a lot of money from it. But so that's basically what's happened with the game.
Yeah, I did play a demo of this. I talked about it on the podcast where the demo is about 2 minutes long, and that's all they let you do. It was horrible. It was one of the cruelest tutorials ever, where if you don't completely perfectly do the turns, the drift turns, they restart the demo entirely and it's just like, fuck you. You didn't drift right. Fuck you, kids.
Rip.
Yeah. So that was awful. Yeah, I don't think the game's getting shut down. It's still playable. The online will still work. It's just, it's a dead game.
Think they were. Yeah, I think they mentioned they were actually transitioning everything to the in-game currency. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It never needed a currency. That's the problem with the game. The game should have just been.
Yeah, probably didn't need a currency at all.
It did.
But yeah, that'll be the end of that. That's wrapping up soon, and next month is also when First Soldier ends, and then Babylon's Fall. When does that end? When's that officially shut down?
I believe that's early next year. I think it's actually lasting 1 year from launch to death. So
I'm surprised. Yeah, I mean that's impressive in all of itself.
Yeah, so a lot of things are shutting down. A lot of these multiplayer games as service bets that Square Enix made, they just have not panned out.
Yeah, because there was a time when that seemed like the obvious bet for the gaming industry to go all in on, because they're like, oh, it's more of a reliable source of funding than the single-player games that might be a big hit and they might not be. But ultimately what happened is the market became oversaturated really quick. And no, it turns out the single-player games are the easier bet. Who'd have thought?
Yeah,
Babylon's
Babylon's Fall...
pretty much everything collapsed except for Destiny 2 and Final Fantasy XIV, and they all lived happily ever after.
Yeah. Babylon's Fall will shut down February 27th.
At this point.
February 27th is when it dies.
League of Legends is the other one that still hasn't collapsed.
And yeah,
League of Legends is less of a game and more a malignant disease that makes people into complete assholes.
Well, I mean, the same could be said of Dota 2, which I think is much worse than League. But
what about Fortnite? Yeah. Isn't Fortnite still a thing?
It is. It is. Fortnite is still a thing, but it is losing ground to Minecraft.
Oh, wow. How about what's the Arcane game? The one that Arcane is based off of. Which one?
No, that is League of Legends.
League of Legends.
What is the other one I'm thinking of? Oh, Dota. Dota 2. How's that one doing?
Yeah, that's the one. Dota 2, I don't want to go into the full history of it, but they're basically the same genre of games. And,
no, but I know what it is, but how's it doing?
Oh, I mean, it's been declining for a few years now, which anyone could have predicted because, they refuse point blank. The community refuses point blank to make that game more user friendly. And, they think of it like they almost get offended when you make the game more user friendly almost. And, so the old people leave because of that. And the new people don't leave because, the new people don't join because obviously there's other shit to play. So, anyone could have predicted that wasn't going to last that long.
Okay. But. And of course, Overwatch 2 is one of the saddest video game stories I've ever told. Everything I loved about that game in 2016 has been stolen from me and replaced with dog shit.
It's a big shame.
Next topic, I believe we should move on. Am I out of all the things? I might finally be through all the things. We have one more thing. Final Fantasy XIV. You just mentioned that game. There's a new patch coming, and a new trailer came out earlier this week. It's patch 6.3.
Yep, Gods Revel, Lands Tremble. It is, it's a standard off patch. There's a bit of story. There's another thing with the big 24-player fights. This one, managing to tease people a bit because so the Alliance Raid series in Endwalker has been about the 12, basically the standard religion of the people of Eorzea. And of course, we believed that they were fake just like every other god. And then in patch 6.1, we somehow stumble upon them and they appear to be real. So we're trying to figure that out and get to fight them in the process. So this patch 6.3, its addition to the Alliance Raid series, one of the fights is against Nofika, goddess of earth, patron deity of Gridania. And one thing people know about Nofika is that she has absolutely gigantic tits.
Oh, let me. How do I spell Nofika? Yep.
Nophica, I believe.
Okay, all right. Let's Google image search this.
Anyway, in the trailer, you can see Nofika, but they deliberately phrased it so you can only see her back. And later in the live letter where they're showing off everything new, typically Yoshida goes into any new instances, tries fighting the boss by himself and dying. And like this time, he goes into the Alliance thing, and the first boss is Nofika, but he goes there. There's just a bunch of treasure chests there, and he says, I already used dev codes to bypass this fight. We're just going to look around the area this time.
So it's like,
I will say,
can't be horny on my chat. I'm getting rid of it. I'm going past this.
I will
but
say,
no horny on the official Final Fantasy XIV channel.
Something I'm very happy to report when I looked it up. The first result was our wiki on it, and I checked the page layout is the correct page layout. So the people who are editing the Final Fantasy XIV content on the wiki, great job. You know, you've done us proud. I'm very proud of you all.
Okay, yes. Blue has put the Twin Adder recruitment poster that very
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's called
my second reaction.
Twin Adders.
My second reaction was, oh, okay, she's got nice boobs.
Yeah, like that is actually like in universe a promotional poster for Gridania's army. Like, join us, we got huge tits.
It's actually called Twin Udders.
But the thing is, like, that's kind of
yes, it's called the Adder,
okay,
the snake,
all right.
or the twin.
Realistic, because that's kind of.
Oh, that's what's on her flag. I thought they were ducks. Oh, they're snakes.
Kind of
I thought they were
what
ducks.
They do. So
okay.
It's like. Oh shit! There's a lure edge error. Oh shit! All right.
What's the matter?
Let me ping Cat use about this. There's a lure error on our page, but it's okay. Oh. I'll ask Cat to take care of it.
What does that mean? Is there like not a
tag? It's a code error.
Oh.
It usually just means FF14 data, but Ace broke again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Someone left a tag open, and now you got to fix the whole thing. All right. Yeah, I'm being extremely mature about Nofika. Sorry, everybody.
So anyway, breasts aside for a second. Yeah, it seems like a fairly standard patch. Just somewhat continuing the story that they've set up post Endwalker about exploring the void, fighting Golbez and the Four Fiends and such. That is happening January 10th, I believe. January the 10th. And I'm sure I'll have more to talk about it next month.
All right. Are you excited for this patch? How's Final Fantasy XIV doing narrative-wise, like in terms of how people love it? People still love this game?
Yeah, it's still going strong. Generally there is, as you'd expect, a bit of a downturn in between the expansions. Probably not helped by it being quite a bit. The patch cycle is now slower than it used to be, because Yoshida forcibly slowed down the development cycle so he could force people to take vacations.
That seems like a smart
That's-
move. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
that's
so now
good.
it's
Like,
so now it's gone from expansions every 2 years to I think about 2.5 years. The next FanFest, which is when they'll reveal 7.0, is mid-year next year. So.
Oh, it could be at
point
E3.
14 is the market leader, so there's no reason for them whatsoever to be like hasty with how quickly they put these things out.
Yeah, also this, like, not to completely shit on World of Warcraft, but it's still not doing well. Dragonflight seems to have been received a bit better than Shadowlands, but compared to when was the peak of it? Mists of Pandaria, it is effectively considered a shell of its former self.
Dead game.
Yeah, it's
You heard it here. So Final Fantasy XIV is the only MMO that matters anymore. Is that the story we're hearing?
at this point.
In
Yeah, it is.
in the paid scene, pretty much, yeah, like the subscription MMO as a genre is pretty much dead, and 14 only gets away with it because it's Final Fantasy 14.
And Nafika, of course.
Basically,
Yes.
well, basically, you know, when you make a really, really good product, people will pay for it.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Should I play Final Fantasy XIV?
And if you want, it is free
I
up
should
to the end
probably-
of Evanswood.
No.
I should definitely play it at some point, but if I do, it turns out I'm gonna need to make a new account on it completely because I cannot transfer my European account to North America, which
That
sucks.
sucks.
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. European, American, and Japanese accounts play on the same system. It only
Yeah, but
it only
even-
changes what
even
currency you have
still-
to pay.
Annoying for like currency and shit, so I'd have to start
Like
again.
I
but
pay
it's
for
okay.
my subscription in euros. It's like Square doesn't, like I mentioned before, Square doesn't ship to Australia. They do not even accept Australian dollars as currency. So
Interesting.
They look at the
Okay.
dollary dues and they're like, "What the hell is this? This is nothing." We want
yeah,
real
so,
money.
so I have to
Interesting.
pay my subscription in euros.
Ugh. Yeah, I'm
So,
not gonna
are we
play
on
Final
the-
Fantasy XIV now. They offended the dollary due. I'm not doing it.
Well, I respect your choices.
Also, I hate MMOs.
Are we on the big topic now?
Yeah, we could be on the big topic. Well, weren't we already on the big topic? you know what I mean. Anyway.
All right.
I'm so glad we brought up Final Fantasy XIV. So,
Okay, if we're going to continue on that route, should I point out that there is a place in Final Fantasy XIV called Nafika's Wells?
okay, we could stop now. Let's be mature adults here, respectful
Yes.
adults. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion was released on December 13th, 2022, which was exactly 2 weeks ago. So, Techno, you've been playing Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. What do you think
A
about
lot.
it? A lot of it.
I have
I
been
assume
playing-
you've beaten it by now, right?
100% in it.
You 100%ed it?
I have. Yes, I
You
have.
beat Gaia, or whatever her name is. The big
Shit!
goddess.
I didn't beat Minerva yet. I
Oh,
didn't.
well,
sorry.
bullshit.
So
What are you claiming 100% then?
90% in it.
I'm the-
I've
fucking-
90% in
The
it.
game literally
Um,
gives you a percentage completion of how much of the side quests you've done.
I've completed exactly 99% of the side quests. Exactly 299 out of 300 missions I have completed. So I have been playing a lot of Reunion, and before that, I played and completed, but did not 100%. I played the original on PSP. I emulated that, and I have a lot of thoughts about both. I will say, like, I think we can split this up into A, like Crisis Core as a concept, like the whole game period, and B, like, you know, what the improvements were. So I'll get the improvements out first real quick before I think the actual meat of the discussion about Crisis Core itself is more interesting. But the improvements itself, I'm just gonna say, are like they make it a significantly better game in basically every single way. Like there's not really anything I can knock the improvements on for, because like basically all the flaws left with Reunion are flaws that the only way you could fix them, you'd have to change Crisis Core itself. Like, you know, when you're doing a remaster of a game where everything is 1-to-1, like basically the flaws remaining are things that are fundamental to Crisis Core. You can't fix it even if you tried. Like, you know, basically you'd have to just remake the game fully and like reimagine a lot of what you did to fix that. But as far as like everything else is all improved. So as an example, like one of my biggest gripes with the missions of the original game, and this is where Spider-Man comes back into it, is that the missions in the original game are extremely boring. They're extremely repetitive. They are not fun. Because this game was designed with the idea in mind, oh, it's a portable game, so you will take it anywhere. So here's just a little mission you can do and it will take you 2 minutes or so to complete. And then, you know, it's a way to pass the time. And okay, fine, I somewhat understand it. But those missions are really fucking boring, and they will probably be boring even if you're on the go anyway. Luckily, this game fixes it in every single way. So first of all, the combat has been not completely redone, but significantly redone to the point where when you have the Buster Sword, it's so fun to play. Because the Buster Sword, like, it's no longer just, oh, you press X and you attack anymore. No, you actually have combos and shit you can do with it. And then there's the fact that, like, oh, when you kill enemies, it actually recovers a decent amount of your HP or your MP. And, you know, you're encouraged to change up the way you play a little bit, because it's like, oh, if you kill enemies with magic, then we'll reward you by giving you MP back. If you kill them with the special abilities, then we'll give you AP back. If you what's the other one? Oh, if you kill it with no damage, then we'll reward you for that. Like, basically, the game encourages you to play better at it, and it makes every encounter much more fun. And the other thing they fixed about it that made them much more fun is, thank God they fixed this. The digital mind wave no longer sucks ass.
Wait, what did they change about the digital mind wave? Because that usually that's the slot limit break thing, right?
Yes. So
it doesn't stop gameplay anymore. Like,
yes,
it will stop to do those memory cutscenes and such, but usually when it's rolling the limit break, it just keeps going, and you don't even have to use the limit break immediately. It gets stocked, and you can
don't
just
have to use it
press
at
the
all if
button
you
to
want.
use
Yeah.
it.
That is interesting.
It's basically, it will come up, it will say, oh, you've got Cisne. And then, you know, you press triangle, like when you want, and then Cisne's cutscene will play if you want it to, because you can press triangle to skip Cisne's cutscene.
Oh yeah, you
that's
can also
great.
skip the limit break animation and the memory cutscenes, and
Yeah,
that's
you
that's
can
great.
basically skip all of it.
the only ones you can't skip are the ones in the ending, because like those go FMV mode.
Yeah, that is so
like-
good, considering the original game, the way it would happen is that those slots would go off, and Aerith would pop up and fully heal you, and I just got the sense that, like, I can't even fail this game if I wanted to, because it keeps giving me all these free heals endlessly.
Right.
The main
Right,
story is
yeah.
still extremely easy, especially if you start going into missions.
Oh yeah, if you go into missions, then the game has like no difficulty left.
Oh, I
And
didn't
so
do
that's
that at
why I'm
all. That
saying,
stuff
like-
was... I don't remember the missions at all, but I know me well enough to know that I probably did 2 of those and then never did them again.
Probably hate the missions in the original, because let me tell you, those are boring as shit. They are
Yeah,
really
those are still pretty bad.
Well, so that's what I'm
at
saying.
At
is,
least
like,
the goofy ones are voice acted now, I guess.
Well,
so that's what I'm saying, is that the only way to improve the game further from how it's been improved is you'd have to completely redo the whole thing. So you'd have to like restructure it. So, instead of 300 missions, there's now 30 missions, and those missions are like in unique locations, and they have a unique like set of things going on. Basically, but beyond that, like the missions are now like the reason I brought up Spider-Man earlier is because it's the same concept as Spider-Man, where like the crimes in Spider-Man PS4 are the same thing over and over again, but you don't care because the core mechanics are so fun that you'll go back to the crimes anyway, just as a chance to try out a new web shooter combination. Whereas in Crisis Core, it didn't used to be. It used to be I dreaded going to the missions all the time. Now I can't put them down because now every time I want to go back and keep playing it because I want to unlock the next item and see what I can do with that. And then I want to unlock the next materia and then use materia fusion, which is just as good as it always was. But I'll use materia fusion again and try out some new combo I can get. And then once you get the one materia that does 99,000 damage on every single hit, it's like, okay, now the game is so easy, but it's so fun just bullying the shit out of this game. Like, so basically, like, you know, I think the improvements itself, it's fair to say, are mostly uninteresting. But so that's why I wanted to get those out of the way first. The only interesting part of the conversation around the improvements is the voice acting. So the voice acting now uses the same voice cast from 7 Remake. It has no one from the original anymore. They recast everyone, and everything is now voice acted. So, you know, Tifa now has lines that she's actually voice acted in by Britt Baron. And Britt Baron is just as good as always. There's like, you know, we do not deserve Britt Baron. But the more interesting one,
of course you'd
is
say that.
Like, she was always my favorite voice actress from the original. She was way too good. Her and Barrett were just way too. We do not deserve those guys. Brianna White as Aerith Brianna White as Aerith is a really interesting one because Aerith in Crisis Core is very different from Aerith in Final Fantasy VII. In the Aerith in Crisis Core is still a little more shy. She is a little more introverted. She hasn't gone through the development yet that she goes through when she meets Zack. And Zack really helps bring her out of her shell to the point where she's so massively, like, you know, she's so fascinating in Final Fantasy VII. And in Crisis Core, she's kind of just, you know, a much less interesting character because, you know, she's less like, the thing everyone loves about Aerith is you think that she's going to be this like nice flower girl that just is, you know, is just like Rosa or some shit. But then she's not. She's actually sweet, streetwise, and cocky, and all of that. And in Crisis Core, no, she kind of is that stereotype. Brianna White does a good job of selling Aerith like she was before that, you know. So I think the voice acting was really good on that. Sephiroth is the other really interesting one because Sephiroth, I think a lot of people did really like Sephiroth in Crisis Core, as in the voice acting. The character himself, Sephiroth, is phenomenal in Crisis Core. That's my personal favorite Sephiroth. Is, you know, you get to see him before he went nuts, and that just adds so much depth to him and makes him a really interesting character. And I really like that. But there's a big difference between how the new guy plays him versus how George Newbern played him. Like, there are some scenes where what's that?
Superman. George Newbern. He played Superman.
Right, that's right,
he also was in an amazing movie called Doppelganger, starring Drew Barrymore, where there's 2 Drew Barrymores and she's actually an alien. Anyway, you can go on. A lot of people really liked Sephiroth in the original, but there's like, you know, I personally prefer this voice acting version because this version, it makes Sephiroth sound more like a human being, which is exactly how he should be at this point in his life. Like George am I pronouncing that right? Newbern? I don't know the man. I think it's Newbern. I don't know.
Okay, well, basically, his version of Sephiroth was a great version of Sephiroth when you want to be intimidating and, like, where you want to be like an anime supervillain. And Sephiroth before Crisis Core is not an anime supervillain. He is a real person. He is warm and compassionate, and he is, that's what makes Sephiroth interesting in this version. So I really liked it, but there's some people who didn't, and I understand that.
Okay,
now, beyond that...
Techno. Originally, in Crisis Core, Newburn does play him like Sephiroth always is, so he's like, "Hello, Zack. I'm here to lead you to the promised land of things and cloud and stuff." So how's the new one sound? Does he just talk like a guy? It's like, "Hey, Zack, it's me, Sephiroth. Hi."
I can give you a direct comparison, actually. Trying to do my best voice impression. So there's a line in that one scene that everyone really likes, the Genesis and Geo Sephiroth scene where they're fighting over Junon.
Yeah,
and
that one
like Genesis says something about like, "Oh, this is one line from Loveless. I'm surprised you remember it." And then Newburn replies with, "How can I not when you've beaten it into my head?" Like almost cocky about it. And then the new guy kind of sounds like, "How can I not when you've beaten it into my head?" Like that, and that probably wasn't a good impression, but basically, he doesn't.
What emotion does he have? Is he like exasperated? Is he, "I'm so fucking sick of this shit," or is he just like, "Oh God, you're doing your Loveless thing again, aren't you?" Like that?
He's exasperated by it.
Okay.
He is exasperated by it. That is a fair way to say it. He says it kind of like that. He has a normal human reaction to a good friend of his talking shit about this one player that he's obsessed with over and over again.
Oh my God. Right? Genesis and the fucking love shit.
So yeah, we're gonna get into Genesis. Don't worry about that. We are gonna get
remember
into
it. There's one scene that I'd absolutely forgotten about, which is just incredibly hilarious, which is towards the end of the first visit to Benora, and Zack runs out of Angeal's house, and then Genesis trips him and just starts reciting Loveless while Zack yells, "Shut up! Shut up!"
That is still there. And it is there in all its glory.
Unfortunately, with the voice acting, the new Zack doesn't sell his scenes as well.
I was leaving that until the end. Yeah, I was leaving that until the end, but we can get into it.
There's one exception. He absolutely lands the ending. Like they have redone the lines that were present in Remake, and they are so much better. But the rest of the game is just kind of like that one moment for him.
Yeah, the original Zack was like Sora. That's how he played it. He played it like a slightly older Sora.
Yeah, I have two things to say on that. First of all, that reminds me, there's actually a third topic with Crisis Core that I'd forgotten about, and that's the topic of how does this lead into 7 Remake, which I'm going to get back to that because there's more to say on that. The second thing...
we have to get to that.
Yeah. The second thing is that my apologies, I was going to leave Zack until the end, but we can get to Zack now, because that's the one point of contention that a lot of people have with Crisis Core Reunion, where a lot of people were understandably really attached to Zack's voice, because Zack was always the best thing about this game, and he still is the best thing about this game. He is a super likable character. Like, Zack is really the only person from the main cast of Final Fantasy VII who doesn't do an Uno reverse card on what you expect from how you look at him, right? Because you look at
comparison to Puppy that the other characters make is kind of apt. He is very cute and excitable.
Yeah, he's Sora.
So what I mean by that, Blue, is you look at Cloud Strife. He's clearly built like this tough, rugged soldier guy, and then you meet him at first, and he says like, "Oh, I'm a mercenary and I have all this experience," but then it turns out actually beneath the surface he's kind of a dork. Yeah. He's kind of nothing like that at all. And then Aerith, I touched on that a bit, as like, you'd think of her as this boring white mage Rosa type person, and she's not that at all.
Why are you putting these words into my mouth? I'm not that Rosa guy.
I'm not putting them into your mouth. I'm just saying, like, basically all the characters
Sorry.
when you see their design, they're not what you expect them. And Zack is the only one where he's exactly what you expect. But that's fine because, Zack is just a wonderful, lovable character. And Rick Gomez, the original voice actor, played a very good Zack at being a lovable, fun-loving character who he starts off immature and like a puppy, but he matures over time and becomes a hero.
Sorry, what?
A lot of people really like that about Rick Gomez. Now, Caleb Pierce is a very different iteration of Zack early on, but a lot of people seem to be aligned on the fact that he gets better as the game goes on. He's much better at playing the matured, more confident Zack, who was, who's gone through all the stuff in the Crisis Core story, than he is at playing the restless puppy Zack. And at that point, he looks more out of place. But at the as the game goes on, he gets better and better about it, including, like SomeColorMage said, at the very end, where he does a very good rendition of the ending, which he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with his first iteration of the ending. He sounds a lot better than he did in 7 Remake.
Okay. So, 7 Remake kind of did the ending of Crisis Core for a second, but now you get to see the whole thing.
That's right.
You get the
that's right.
The whole emotional affect of Zack fighting the infinite army and being defeated. Spoilers.
Yeah, so basically, I will say, last thing I have to say on Crisis Core, had the new voice acting. I think Cisne's voice actress is the biggest improvement. And everyone always loved Cisne, and I think she's even better now. I really love how Cisne sounds. A lot of people have said they much prefer Genesis and Angeal's voice in this, and I think, they're better, but, those characters are written so poorly that doesn't help a whole lot. So, I think, unless anyone has anything to add, that about wraps up the reunion improvement part of this segment.
I have some
we did
questions,
kind
I
of
guess.
get distracted from gameplay, but also in general the game is just kind of faster and more fluid. In the original Crisis Core, you attacking is press a button, Zack swings, press a button, Zack does the exact same swing. There's in this version, Zack does have a proper combo that's more akin to how Cloud uses the sword in Remake. Materia, you no longer have to hit the shoulder button. You have to hit L and R to get to the correct materia and use it. They have changed to Kingdom Hearts style shortcuts for all of them. So you press, I think it was hold L1 and press one of the face buttons or R1 and R2 to let off the materia. Materia Fusion now actually tells you what result you're going to get before you do it.
Well, it did that before, but it hid it.
Okay.
It's basically it does. How it did it before was you put the 3 together, and then it says, "This is the materia you're gonna get. Do you want to do it?" Whereas now, like you said, it actually you put the item in, and then it gives you the preview. So it's much better now.
Yeah. Techno already mentioned that you get some of your MP or AP back by killing enemies in certain ways, but also once you get the Buster Sword, you can press attack and roll at the same time to enter a sort of pseudo Punisher mode, and during this, your attack becomes just a couple heavy cleaves, and if you use an attack ability, it will behave as if because usually if you use an attack ability mid combo, it gets a damage boost. If you do it, then it just immediately gives the same damage boost as if it was at the end of a combo. If you kill enough enemies with that, the Buster Sword gets even stronger, and battle stance starts being able to do things like have innate break damage limit or being able to pierce protect, the game is just a lot faster than it used to be.
Yeah, and I think that Punisher mode you're talking about, that pseudo Punisher mode, I think you might actually use the exact same animations that Cloud used in 7 Remake, because I think they look exactly the same to me. But yeah, it's like you say, it's just all around just so much more fun to play than it used to be. Like it's just, it's a night and day difference, really. And I'm saying this as someone who... Is there a jump? Yes, there is a jump, man.
There are jump materials, but you can't jump without it. So
that's what I hated about the original one. You can't. It felt so stiff that you couldn't jump.
Jump in terms of like the jump attack, like Kane's.
Yeah,
jump.
no, I mean
like a Kane Hindwind jump.
I mean, like
it's not like
I'm in Kingdom Hearts. I'm gonna air juggle this
or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's
what I
there
really
isn't
didn't
that,
like.
but 7 Remake didn't have that either. So.
Yeah, I didn't love that either, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean, a few attacks could kind of knock people into the air and let you style on them a bit. But not in
Crisis Core doesn't have that. It doesn't have that. Like, it's not... The combat system is as good of a Crisis Core combat system as we could have gotten. It is not as good as 7 Remake.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They made the game better while still leaving it as Crisis Core, essentially.
Yeah, they made the best Crisis Core they could have made.
Yeah. Okay. Let me... I don't know how I can respond to all this. How about this? Why don't I go and share my opinions on Crisis Core, and let's see if possibly this remake could change my mind if I should play Crisis Core again, which I'm not going to do, but just for an intellectual exercise. I'll go through and...
Blue, that is wonderful, because that is exactly how I wanted to start off the conversation, is you sharing your perspective on it.
Okay.
So,
well,
I'm
anyway,
really interested to hear what you have to say.
I played this game back in 2008. I rented it from a Blockbuster, which sounds perfectly normal to me, but I think now it makes me sound like some kind of a Flintstonian freak.
Man.
Like, oh man, you used a punch card on your computer? What the hell? So I beat it over the course of a weekend. If I did any of the missions, I would have only have done them for level grinding. I can't remember much of it at all. I remember...
Yeah, you probably didn't do much. Like, I completed about 60% missions, and my save file's about 25 hours.
I think I beat it in like 12, 20 maybe?
Yeah.
Couldn't be more than that.
Yeah, so you probably didn't do a lot of the missions.
I'm on like 30 hours with my 99% completion, so it didn't sound like you would have done it.
Yeah, but that 1% is the super boss, which is the actually challenging thing. So report back when you beat
like
Minerva.
2 hours long.
She's even if you set it to hard mode, she's even harder than she was in PSP, because they increased her HP. It was it's 10 million in normal in both versions. In hard mode, it's 20 million on PSP. In the remake, 77,777,777.
So it's more than Ye's Matt in Final Fantasy XII.
That is more than... Well,
better have your fucking break damage limit and costly punch handy. Oh yeah, they nerfed that too, so it uses 10 times as much HP as it used to.
I hope you have your all lucky 7s going, but wait, that only does like 77,000 damage. Yeah, alright, whatever. We'll move on.
It doesn't even work.
No, it doesn't work. Alright. So I did not like this game. I imagine many of the things I disliked immediately would have been fixed, such as, say, the entire game can be beaten by just running around an enemy, hitting X 3 times, and then square to dodge or block. You could beat everything that way. Like, there was nothing in the game that was... except for Sephiroth, because you can't get behind him. Because he's a 2D fight.
You can't crit lock everything to death in this version. The flinching behaves a lot more like it does in Remake.
Yeah. So I thought it was stiff. I thought it was pretty tedious. The real problem, though, that I always had with Crisis Core is not just the fact that the original way those characters were on the PSP reminded me a lot of the Flanderized Advent Children version of the Final Fantasy VII cast, which I guess they won't feel like that anymore considering the voice acting's been changed, so maybe that's an advantage.
Yeah, that does change it a lot.
The voice acting's a bit better, but yeah, if that's your concern, it does not really fix that. The script is only really
better.
adjusted for grammatical fixes.
The script is what the script is.
Better.
And
I'd say significantly better. Like, the voice acting is the 7 remake style of voice acting, where basically, like, the core cast all sound, like, really good. They sound like, Final Fantasy XII level of quality. Like, the voice cast of the main cast is excellent. The side characters are, your random-ass fucking anime, random JRPG voices that sound kind of ridiculous, but that's whatever. That's part of the charm of the game.
How does Genesis do this quote? "Infinite in mystery is the gift of the goddess. We seek it thus and take to the sky. Ripples form on the water's surface. The wandering soul knows no rest." How does he do that? Because he says that line 7,000 fucking times. How does he do that one?
It's like, this in mystery is the gift of the goddess. Like, kind of like
he sucks.
that.
All right, good.
He doesn't sound like, an actor trying to read poetry in an important tone of voice, but, like, the lines still fucking suck because it's...
Yeah, that's the thing.
Loveless is not actually a very good poem.
It's not.
It's what it is. It's like, basically, any problem you'll have with the dialogue will be because of the dialogue itself and nothing to do with how it's delivered. Because the delivery of everything is great. Mm-hmm. It's just, if the dialogue itself sucked, there's not much they could do about it. Although, that does lead to one small point. The script has changed, which I'm very pissed off about, because I finished the Final Fantasy VII script for the wiki, and I was thinking, oh, this is great, because now I don't need to do anything for Reunion anymore. And nope, they changed it. But other than that, I don't care.
Okay.
That's just my own pet peeve in it. Anyway, sorry, carry on. So
I haven't gotten to the real killing blow of Crisis Core. What made me deeply dislike that game? Actually, there's two things. I'm going to start with the mechanical one. I'm going to go with the story one next. The mechanical one is that Crisis Core always felt like it was a slice of Final Fantasy VII in full 3D. It was not actually Final Fantasy VII in full 3D. So you could walk around Midgar in a couple, like, open areas, and you can build, like, a trolley for Aerith, her flower cart. And I remember thinking, man, what we need is a Final Fantasy VII Remake where you could actually go around Midgar freely and go and explore these places instead of this semi-linear level-based game where, yeah, it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII, but it's also just, the theme park version of Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, fortunately.
For 2008 BlueHighwind, I have news for you.
Okay. He's still here. He's inside of me somewhere.
Yeah, so maybe that part won't be as annoying these days, but the level design is exactly the same. It's just, it might not give you that feeling anymore now that we actually have the 7 remake.
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit more pessimistic and say that while it does feel better, it's probably not to your satisfaction. I don't really feel like you will have a significantly higher outlook of this game, except you'd have gone from hating nearly everything about it to only hating a few critical components of it.
I think that's fair.
I don't know. Did I hate everything? Yeah, I guess I did hate everything about this game, actually.
In the mechanical department, I think that is fair to say. The level design has not changed.
All right, so that's probably not going to work for me.
I'll have to wait. It even does the same fucking thing where, like, a bunch of those open areas is like, or just a bunch of those areas in general are just like short, narrow corridors with big arenas in between each bit, and you can dodge the encounters by just walking around the edges.
I remember that. That was hilarious.
That is so true. You can
Yeah,
still
that was
do
hilarious.
that. So it turns out that wasn't actually like a bug that people found. That was intentional game design, because if they wanted to fix it, they would have fixed it.
And a lot of the
It turns
fights are
out
really tedious and the same shit over and over again. So, this is fine.
fights
No.
themselves have improved. Like the fights have improved a lot. It's just everything around them.
It can still get a bit repetitive, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, sure.
All right. I have one final complaint. Okay. This is a game about
the most important fight.
No, the previous one was actually the killing blow from this game. Why I would probably never play it and would just wait for
this might be
7
the more
part
interesting
2.
complaint.
Yes.
I'm interested in your more interesting complaint.
Okay. This is a game about a boy named Zach who joins a organization called Soldier and is mentored by his buddy Angeal, and then mentors Cloud in turn. And during the course of this, he is told something called Soldier Pride, which is this martial, honorable virtue.
Soldier honor.
Soldier honor, yes, that's it. Soldier honor.
The exact quote is, "Embrace your dreams, and whatever happens, protect your soldier honor."
Yes. Now, I have a couple things about this. Number one is that I'm pretty sure the organization of Soldier is like 3 years old when this game came around, because Sephiroth and Genesis are the first ones. Maybe 5 years. So where the hell is this vast tradition of Soldier honor coming from to begin with? But
5
secondly,
years sounds about right, but yeah.
Secondly, you are, in this game, a thug working for the Shinra Electric Power Company. You are nothing more than a brute for capitalism. You have no soldier honor. Any soldier honor you have is purely propaganda made up by... And this is not me reading the leftism in there, because it's there already. The guys that you work for are fucking shitheads trying to destroy
it's very
the
much
planet.
in the game already. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
You start this game conquering Wutai. We're fighting for their own freedom. They're an independent organization. They don't want anything part of your global planet.
And there's
your
a
best
conversation
friend,
at the very start.
Your best friends are various super soldiers built by this company to wipe out people more efficiently. What's soldier honor? You don't got fucking shit of soldier honor. Zach, you were completely up your own ass.
Shit.
Yeah, so that is I'm happy that is an interesting complaint. And I would flip that on you a little bit, and I'd say that's actually something I like about Crisis Core a lot. Because I think that's a huge part of Zach's character arc, is him coming to realize, like, yeah, this was kind of bullshit. Because, like you say, the game does start at the very start with you conquering Wutai, and Wutai have not really done anything wrong. And then Zach has a conversation with one of the other, like, I think it's like a lieutenant commander, from Wutai, where they basically say, like, "Oh, you're invading our land. What the fuck are you doing here?" And Zach's like, "Oh, yeah? Well, I heard that we wanted to give you Mako energy, and you didn't like that, so you attacked us before even hearing us out." And then they say, "Oh, you're full of shit. You don't know what you're talking about." And at that point, Zach's like, "Well, I mean, there might be some truth to what you're saying, but I've made my choice. I'm with Shinra, and I'm going to stay with Shinra." And, they fight, and Zach decides, "I'm not going to kill you." And they're like, "Oh, well, as long as I'm alive, I will fight Shinra." And Zach's like, "Oh, okay." I don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't think I'd go home feeling better about myself if I did that. And then as the game goes on, you still see that sense of, like, heroism kind of bestowed in him. But as you get to Nibelheim, like, that's when he's kind of, like, basically everything around them collapses, because they're realizing, like you said, it was all propaganda. It was all bullshit. Like, even, like, it started out with, like, Lazard, Angeal, Sephiroth all saying, like, "Oh, we're totally loyal to Shinra. We're, like, we're fighting for our it's not really a country, but we're fighting for Shinra."
They are a state at this point, so...
They are a state at this point, but we're fighting for our state.
Yes.
They think they're doing the right thing. And then over time, each of them have doubts about it. So, like, Angio's doubts are not told well at all. I hate that part. Like, Angio
he
is
turns evil
unfortunately
for no reason whatsoever.
he turns evil for no reason, then he turns good for no reason, then he turns evil for no reason again, and then you kill him. Like, it's Angio's character is not written well. It's like
he's largely just pursuing self-interest, but the game doesn't really make any effort to explain what his self-interest is.
That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem. Is like this game is a perfect. I've been saying for a long time that Nojima is the most brilliant but inconsistent writer I've ever seen. Like, and I think this game perfectly encapsulates his inconsistencies. But yeah, basically, Angio unfortunately was not written well in the original. Is still not written well. That hasn't fixed it. But then Sephiroth is written brilliantly, and Lazard he's alright, I guess. But each of them start to have their doubts, and the seeds of doubt get sowed over time as basically they're trying to clean up the company's mess, and over time it becomes clear the company's not that interested in helping them, and there's a lot of corruption going on. And it gets to the point where just before Nibelheim, Sephiroth says, look, at this point, I'm done with these guys. Like, depending on what happens, I might just quit Shinra completely. And little did we know, he did quit Shinra in a massive way. But,
Quiet quitting, that's Sephiroth. No, unquiet quitting, I guess. He very loudly quit.
It's a very protracted resignation. It goes on for years, and he is quiet for most of those years. The fact that he's dead for most of them may have had something to do with that, but it's
setting fire to a town is not quietly quitting.
Well, that's not the quiet part. The quiet part is there's 5 years between him setting fire and then killing the president.
Okay,
Techno was going.
So when then Zack at that point, he confides in Cloud, and Cloud, still being the little dork he is, he's still too shy to take his mask off and talk to Tifa and thank her for rescuing him. And then and Zack sees a bit of himself in that, where he says yeah, I'm kind of really all this time I've been all wishy-washy about this company that I've been backing 100% unquestionably, and that was the wrong way to do it. So I was maybe slow to pick up on that. Is I should have all this time realized there was something wrong here. I shouldn't have been just doing this for the corporation as it was, right? And and his story arc ends up in a really inspiring way, because he does become a hero, but not in the way he'd expected to be. He wanted to become a hero from, he wanted to be one of those who won the Wutai War and could come home to his quote-unquote country and say how, be talked about in the papers about how wonderful he was and all the glory he had. And then all that happens is Kunsal saying to him, yeah, the papers talk about Sephiroth, they don't mention you at all. And he was a little disappointed by that. And at the very end, he was like, I'm not being a hero to pursue glory or to pursue, how people look at me after that. Because, no one even knew Zack existed after that point. Well, sorry, they knew he existed. They didn't know. They thought he'd been killed in action. They lied about what happened to Zack. But, and he does become a hero in that, he heroically gives his life for the planet, and it's a really inspiring story about how a guy who's always pursued heroism, and he's juxtaposed against Genesis that pursued heroism for the wrong reasons. Genesis just wanted to be a hero to get all the glory and all the fame and have people adore him or whatever.
Wasn't he doing it because he believed the goddess shit in his poem? Was that
yeah, that's the other component to it. It's
Genesis completely lost his shit. This game, there is an interesting idea here. It is very largely a story about people who have become disillusioned with their lot in life, and they all die or go insane or both because of it. And there's something interesting here, but it is told not very well.
I agree. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, so I would basically, coming back to what you said, Blue, I would kind of flip like that criticism of the game's story and say that's actually like one of the things I really like about it. But then I'd come back again and say, yeah, and it wasn't communicated very well. Like, so I'll give you an example of like why people hate Genesis and why people really like Sephiroth. So with Sephiroth,
it's obvious. Just look at the two. I mean, one is just
that-
immensely hotter than the other.
that's the first
Okay,
thing.
Sephiroth is very hard. I mean, this is the game where you get to learn what he uses in his shampoo.
Lavender.
Right.
Wait, what's the
Well,
exact
with-
quote? I could find it somewhere. Sephiroth
Sephiroth,
shampoo.
Sephiroth, what people really, really found interesting about him is the fact that he is a fallen hero. He is a Darth Vader kind of character, where what really makes him interesting.
Sorry.
Go on.
This is more important. The hair products he uses are of the highest grade, made and supplied by the Shinra Company. He seems to use one whole bottle of both shampoo and conditioner every time he washes his hands. His hair, I'm sorry.
Okay.
They are scented with 13 kinds of perfumes, including rose and vanilla. Apparently, the scent in the air after Sephiroth tosses his hair changes daily.
Interesting. Okay. So basically, like
the fan clubs are just so funny.
It is hilarious. All right, go on.
What's really interesting about Sephiroth is that he's a Darth Vader kind of character. Is that he was a hero. He was in fact the best hero, and he fell from grace because Shinra suck ass and because Holder is a piece of shit. And that's what really made it work is that they show you that in Final Fantasy VII. You see that because you see the flashback, and even though it's told from Cloud's perspective and it's bullshit at the time, you see Sephiroth, he sees this giant dragon that Cloud does like 2 damage to, and Sephiroth does like 900 million damage to it. Like, and Sephiroth kills it immediately. Sephiroth is going around, he is this dependable person. He lives up to his name, and you see in real time him fall from grace. With Genesis, we weren't shown that, we were told that. It just, the game starts and you're told, oh yes, Genesis left the company. About Genesis, we don't know what it was like before, we don't know like why we should care about this. We're just told, oh yeah, Genesis left. Okay? Like, there's no depth there. There's nothing that makes this work, basically. Like, it's just Genesis just...
Sorry, Techno. I think we're wandering off from my complaint. Because there's a ton we can talk about with this story. But my issue was more of what this story is telling us is a virtue, or what they're maybe even trying to reclaim of soldier honor. Like, Zach's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go separate that from its original roots, which was total bullshit. I'm taking it back. I'm gonna decontextualize it from Shinra's capitalist shit, and I'm gonna make it purely heroic. I still don't think any of that works, because it still comes from a place of mad science and vast extraction. And even then, on top of everything else, it really is just like, what if cops could say Blue Lives Matter and then save people? And I still I don't think so on any level on that.
And that's a fair perspective to have, and I totally understand that point. Again, like, why I love the story is I think Zach's story is very inspiring, and I think it is totally fair to say, like, yeah, like, even though he did turn against the company, and the whole point is that everything kind of fucked up around him, and like the company abandoned him and all of that shit, they did not reward him whatsoever for his service to that company. And even though that is true at the end, like, yeah, he goes out saying, embrace your soldier honor. That's like his final words, basically. So I think that is a fair
You know what they should
to
do?
have.
The soldiers,
Go on.
they need a union.
Mm.
They really
They
need
do,
the
they
union
do need-
protection. That's the real problem. They gotta go on
don't
strike.
imagine Shinra are very fond of unions.
No, they're not.
That doesn't seem like a pro-union company.
They don't seem like
Um,
somebody that loves minimum wages or hourly limits or healthcare, any of those sorts of things.
I love it for the
Yeah, I mean,
executives.
in Remake, Avalanche
Like-
are just like a bunch of socialists, so...
No, but that is an interesting point because the game brings up the fact that the Turks are paid a lot better than Soldier are, and that's because the Turks have to do the dirtiest shit and they know the worst stuff about the company.
Yeah, they're the CIA
So they're
guys.
paid a lot better. Yeah, that is the way to put it. They are the CIA of this world. So, yeah, I mean, I think that is a totally fair criticism to have. I would say on the flip side, like, if you look at like Zack, so Cloud was Zack's living legacy. Cloud never talks about Soldier Pride. Like
No.
the whole
Well, he was kind of
Soldier
asleep
Pride
during
thing.
most of this anyway.
But like, so basically, like, the good stuff passed on to Cloud, not the Soldier Pride bullshit.
Yeah, he gets to have Zack's cool energy in the first part of the game, and then gets to his living legacy is that he gets to go swing around a really big ass sword. Oh, and he
Right.
gets to bang Zack's girlfriend. So
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. that does
potentially
happen.
we'll
Um,
see how the remakes go.
I still think that's going to be player choice, just like the original, but I don't want to talk about shipping today. So the
but
other
it's right
criticism
there.
of Crisis Core, Crisis Core that I've seen a lot of people make, which is another one that I wouldn't argue with, I think is an interesting point, even if it doesn't detract from my rating of this game, which is an 8 out of 10. The PSP game was a 6 out of 10. Like, the other criticism that I think is a very fair criticism to make is how it retcons Zack's death.
Oh yeah,
in
is
the
this
orig-
tying into 7 remake? How this all adds up?
we can use this to segue into the third topic, but
Yeah, because
in-
I also
in-
we are starting to go quite long. We're creeping
Okay.
up on 2 hours, so maybe we should wrap this up coming up.
Okay, so I'll get to this. Basically, this criticism is that in the original Final Fantasy VII, Zack was someone who had 4 lines. He has 4 lines in the whole of the original Final Fantasy VII, and I know this because I just put out the full transcript of the original Final Fantasy VII. You can look it on the wiki. It's a huge fucking page, and I'm very
Woo!
proud of it. So he has 4 lines in the whole game. And when he dies, it is unceremonious. He's literally, the two of them are going on their motorcycle towards Midgard. Zack wants to see Aerith again, and then he's shot and killed by 3 people while he's not looking. They just kill him point blank. He's dead. There's no heroic final stand. There's no like facing down hundreds of soldiers, like not soldiers, the infantrymen. There's no like grand finale. It's just he's unceremoniously cut down in his prime, and it's a very realistic ending for a real human being to have, because in real life, a lot of people, even if you are living legends like Zack, you don't get to have a final dramatic words where you tell your best friend that they are your living legacy, and you ask them to say hi to Aerith for you and all of that shit. Zack got to say to Cloud in his ending. Like, you don't get to do that. Instead, it's just 3 people go up and kill you, and then they're done with you, right? And basically, Crisis Core overly dramatized the ending of Zack, and I understand why they did it for narrative purposes, because narratively, if this was your main character for the whole game, it does make sense for them to kind of have a really dramatic scene like that, which is a beautiful fucking scene. Like, I think, I don't know if you have, as someone who didn't like the game, if you felt the same way as I did.
I thought the ending was actually very well done.
Yeah, the ending was phenomenal. Like, it was a very good ending. But I think it is a fair criticism to make.
I do think the way the game's the DMV system starts to crack up in that final fight, where those enemies you actually could just kill them forever in that original system.
Easily, yeah.
You could play that infinitely and get a high score, but it starts to break down.
They have
in a really
also
cool way.
really sped that up in Reunion. I forget how long it goes for in Crisis Core, but it doesn't last more than a couple minutes in this version.
Yeah, but the actual systems of the game starting to decay as Zack is dying, I think
that still happens.
I think that's a very cool technique. That's almost like a Metal Gear Solid kind of move.
It's the kind of thing. Well, I wasn't going to say Metal Gear Solid. I was actually going to say it was the kind of thing they did back in the Final Fantasy VI days, where they combine gameplay and narrative in this really interesting way. But yeah, so I think the ending was is a phenomenal ending. Everyone loves that. But it is a fair criticism to make that they retconned someone having a really realistic death to saying that death has to be this over-dramatized thing where you have to go out fighting a bunch of people. But that's in the canon of Final Fantasy VII now. They're not changing that. So now we can segue that to Final Fantasy VII Remake. And where does Reunion fit into that? Because it is still ambiguous, but I do have a point.
Before we get into the proper remake stuff, I actually want to just mention one thing that I found kind of funny. So, Square Enix sent a bunch of special editions to a bunch of streamers. The ones that are big Final Fantasy VII super fans that they tear up at the ending and such. And among all of the extra tat and stuff, there's this little box on it that has "Do not open until the credits roll" printed on it. And so the streamers listen to this, and when they beat the game, open the box. Inside it is just a handkerchief.
Okay.
Oh my god, that is really fucking funny.
Okay, but
anyway, so
what does it do for 7 Remake? Do we have any clue as to what it's doing here? Did it change anything substantial?
No. There's one interesting change, but not an important one. But basically, so in Final Fantasy VII Remake, Caleb Pierce delivers a very different voiced version of his ending with one word difference, where Caleb Pierce in the Crisis Core ending says "embrace your honor as soldier," and Caleb Pierce in Final Fantasy VII Remake says "embrace your dreams as a soldier," which we used to think of that as, oh, that's a mistake, he doesn't he's saying the line wrong or something like that. No, I think that's a legit thing. I think them choosing to have Caleb Pierce revoice the Zack's final stand, I don't think it was just, oh, everyone hated it in the original, so let's redo it. No, I think it's deliberate. I think that they're deliberately doing that to say that this Zack that had his final stand here is different from Zack Crisis Core Reunion. And I think Crisis Core Reunion is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Wait, I'm confused now because you've mentioned 4 different versions. So the line is different. All right, let's ignore the PSP. PSP's gone. You set it on fire. It didn't happen at all. Caleb Pierce read the line 2 different ways in Final Fantasy VII Remake and in this newest version of Crisis Core. That's what you're saying?
He read the line one way in 7 Remake and one way in Crisis Core.
In this version of Crisis Core?
Yes.
Okay. It is one word of difference and... Okay.
One word of difference. Everything else is the same. Every line, I should say, is the same. The way he reads it is completely different.
All right.
Completely different.
So you think this is an indication of multiple universes, or?
I don't know what it's an indication of. It's an indication of Zack being different. Yes, I am at the point where I am leaning towards the alternate timeline theory. But yes, I think that was very deliberate. I think they did that on purpose. I don't think it was just a reaction to how it was done in 7 Remake. But yeah, so basically, like, Crisis Core, like, a lot of people before this game came out were predicting that it was going to be the exact same Crisis Core up until the very ending, at which point Zack was going to survive. And that is not what happened here at all. It was exact same events. The only change was a really weird change, which I think is kind of stupid. Basically, in the very, very ending, we're talking the post-credit scene that leads into Final Fantasy VII, the one where you see Aerith walk out onto the Midgar streets, and then you see Cloud say, "I'm Cloud, soldier first class." To be continued in Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
No, the whole thing is the same, and it still says to be continued in Final Fantasy VII, not to be continued in Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is interesting. The whole thing is the same, except they used shots of 7 Remake Aerith, even though it looks stupid. Like, why? That was dumb. I don't know why you did that. It makes no sense.
Alright, so I am not getting any concrete crumbs, I'm sorry, as to what Square Enix's hand is moving here. Other than the fact that
the story in this is unchanged. It is less likely that this has any bearing on what actually is the direction of Rebirth and Part 3, except for maybe hinting at things that they want to include in there. Because, like, if you just wanted to catch people up on tech, I don't feel the need to have remade the entirety of Crisis Core for it.
Well, I can see one, yes, there's a market for Crisis Core, and also, if Zack is going to be a major part of 7 Remake 2, you kind of have to do this.
7 Rebirth.
I'm calling it Part 2.
Also,
who knows? Maybe in Rebirth there is going to be a side story where Sung decides that he doesn't want to get involved in any of this shit, and instead is just trying to track down the still alive Zack so he can finally deliver all of the fucking letters from Aerith that he intercepted. Who knows?
I want Cisne to be in it. I want to find out what actually happened to her after Crisis Core. I want to see her either in Costa del Sol or in Gongaga. I don't mind either way. I do think anything else from the original that was only in the original still needs to be here. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what's happening with Zack. But basically, like, nothing's changed really. Is they kind of released it, and we said, "Oh, does this tie into the original, or does this tie into 7 Remake?" They're like, "What? Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you. You'll work it out." But as for them releasing this, like, so the big topic of discussion around them choosing to release this now is a lot of people are saying, "Oh, does that mean they're gonna reveal the mystery around Cloud early?" And to which I say,
they already did.
Fucking did that.
Yeah, they've done this now. Now this is out. There's no, you can't really do any spoilers about Nibelheim because everyone knows it now.
Yeah, besides, like, there's already the bit in Remake where Hojo figures out who Cloud is, and while he does get cut off, he says enough to give it away. So.
Yeah. Like I said, when the original 7 Remake came out, there's only a single part of the whole game that pissed me off, and that was that one line from Hojo when he's like, "Oh, I remember you. You were never a soldier." I was so fucking
That's a
mad.
great Hojo impression. You sound just like him.
I was like, why the fuck would you reveal this now? Like, I understand revealing it now to an extent, but that's the stupidest. I don't know. I was really fucking mad.
7 Remake is clearly, we've discussed this before, but it's clearly made for people who have played Final Fantasy VII. It is a game reacting off of your Final Fantasy VII memories, and in many ways, literally conflicting with them. It is at war with your memories, and that is actually in the text there.
Yeah, that's very much true. It's like the same thing with, like, they said, "Oh, well, we can't do the whole suspenseful Jaws style build up of Sephiroth because everyone knows who Sephiroth is now. And I think they're doing the same thing with the Cloud mystery. They're like, oh, well, we can't build up the mystery the same way as before because everyone knows what the mystery is now.
Also, that scene where Cloud bumps right into Sephiroth's chest, that was incredible. Everyone loved that.
Like, I still think it's going to be... I'm still really interested to see Cloud's take on the Nibelheim incident, and I think we're still going to get that. I think we're going to get something similar to how they rebuilt Cloud's consciousness. I just don't think it's going to be the same order of events, and I don't care about that. Like, that's basically... So basically, the whole topic of discussion is, oh, are they going to reveal the mystery? I'm like, they already did. And it pissed me off. It annoyed me when they did. I'm over the fact that they've revealed the mystery.
Okay. So, to conclude, this game gives no concrete clues as to what 7 Remake Part 2 is going to have. It is improved.
Yep.
But not so immensely great that I think it is must-play, even with you guys' description.
Yes.
So therefore, I don't need to play it. All right, good enough. We finally hit a conclusion. You don't have to play Crisis Core Remastered.
The only hint, quote unquote, that it gives as to the future is not really a hint about like anything story wise. It's the fact that, you know, they've rebuilt every single asset in this. So like every model's been redone, every location's been redone. So like, you know, you're gonna get a good hint as to what stuff looks like. That's it. Like, you know, and spoiler alert, it looks really fucking pretty. But
well, I will say one thing. Right? I hate how Cissney's hair looks remastered. It looks like her hair is wet. Like she just got out of the shower and her hair is like just soaking wet in every scene. I don't care for it.
Just before we move on from this game, like,
we're gonna end after this. What?
Are we at least agreed on Cissney?
Oh, Cissney's great. No, the best part of the original game.
Yes. Well, I mean, to me, it's second to Zack, but yeah, Cissney is fucking incredible.
Now, Zack, honestly, when I first played it, he was really pissing me off. I think I finally mellowed on that version of Zack when I played Birth by Sleep, where Zack shows up.
Okay.
And he is a even more Kingdom Hearts character than he is already, and I'm like, you know what? This goofy remix of the Crisis Core theme song, I think I'm finally have my temperature cooled on this game. Also, speaking of Birth by Sleep, that is actually the Final Fantasy, well, the Square Enix game to play on the PSP, because that is a full Kingdom Hearts game. It is not a slice of a Kingdom Hearts game. That could have been Kingdom Hearts 3, where Crisis Core will never be anything more than a spin-off.
A lot of good things about it. Okay. But yeah, so that's our topics for today, guys.
Yes. I am officially tired of podcasting. How are you guys? How about you guys?
Yeah, there's actually some other things I hope to do today, and it's like 12:30. So.
Yeah, so we could save it for January. I wanted to do like end of year stuff, but
no, I don't mean this call. I mean I want to go out and do something in the real world.
Oh no, it's the end. It's like the end of the day for me now. So
yeah, it's 1:30 a.m. in United Kingdom.
Yeah, so let's wrap it up here. 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 I'm going to keep dragging this out because now I know I can torture you two by keeping this going. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm torturing myself.
Was that halfway through one of those let's wrap it up here, you're just going to cut to the end music?
No. Maybe. I don't know. No, I think we'll keep going with all of it. Every single second. No. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast. Our podcast music is La Montañas de los Jovenes Caballeros, which is the Mount Koltz music from Final Fantasy VI, which was made by XPRTNovice off the OC Remix album from Final Fantasy VI. And I was BlueHighwind, or Eric Fuchs. That was Technobliterator. That was SomeColorMage. Everyone wants to be done with this, including you. So we're ending now. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back in January. Bye!